Hey folks, it's Alan Saunders again. Welcome to Draft Talk on Pittsburgh Sports Live. I'm joined as always by Nick Farabaugh. It is Friday. It is day 2 of the NFL draft, and the Steelers made a big splash on Thursday night, drafting Pitt quarterback Kenny Pickett with the number 20 overall pick after an insane Thursday night of trades. We predicted a lot of trades here on the show yesterday. I'm not sure we thought that all was going to happen, with a couple of star wide receivers getting moved as well into the mix. Just an absolute bonkers first round, but it all sort of ends up the way we thought it was going to. Interestingly enough, as we sat here yesterday and made our picks for the Steelers, you said it was going to be Malik Willis. I said it was going to be Desmond Ridder. It actually ends up with the guy that we had right in between those two, Pitt quarterback Kenny Pickett. We had the position right, Nick. And I thought that was pretty obvious. If you didn't think the Steelers were taking a quarterback, especially when the board came to them with all of the quarterbacks available at number 20, I think you were probably not paying very close attention to what the team did in the pre-draft process. But I was surprised that Kenny Pickett was the pick and not Malik Willis when the Steelers had their option at 20. Was that your read as well?
Oh, I was really surprised. On the draft show, I think we all were surprised that Kenny was their QB1. They kind of, for the first time ever, the Steelers kind of smoke screened everybody. I mean, like, they kind of did. Now, whether that was a super, tangible thought process, or they just kind of smoke screened everyone because they thought Kenny wasn't going to be there and they thought Malik would, that's a different story. But to me, by taking Pickett, that means your QB2 would be Ridder. Right. I mean, I would imagine. So if he wasn't there, Ridder would have been the pick.
I don't know. I don't know.
You think
don't
Malik
buy
would have
that
been the pick?
Yeah, I think Malik would have been the pick. I think honestly, I feel like if Mike Tomlin was the only guy making this pick, I think it would have been Willis. I think this is one of those things where there's 3 guys in that room with decision-making power, and I can see why, for stability reasons. Like, I can see why you'd want Kenny Pickett. I can see why a team would rank Kenny Pickett over Malik Willis. I'm not sure why the Steelers did, right? Like, because if you're a team, like when we talked about in the pre-draft process, if you're Carolina and it's like, oh, Matt Rule needs to save his job, they need somebody who can come in right now and provide a spark and start to turn this thing around. Well, then Kenny Pickett's your guy because he was the most NFL ready of these players. But the Steelers went out in free agency to get a quarterback in Mitch Trubisky. They already had Mason Rudolph. They didn't need NFL readiness. They can afford to, and probably will, let this pick sit for a year, maybe more. So why not go with the higher upside? I think that was the big question mark for me.
Yeah, well, my guess is, and this is kind of how I feel, is that they're trying to capitalize on some of like Cam Hayward, TJ Watt. Cam's a little older too. It's a little older. Assuming he's back, they still have a Lulu. I'm thinking that they're true to their word. They're trying to win now, and this is a win now move. Honestly, like, Kenny's going to come in and can start day one. Certainly, he's going to be the starter next year. I can't see a scenario where he's not starting week 1 of 2023, barring him getting hurt.
I mean, I can't. Mitch Trubisky goes out and makes another Pro Bowl.
Well, that's true.
And that's not like super far-fetched either.
Well, at that point, then, if that happens, then you're talking about Mitch being the long-term answer, and then you're talking about trading Kenny, right?
Right, yeah. But absolutely. I mean, that's the one thing I feel like that people are like upset about this pick. I'm like, oh, well, if he doesn't play, it's a waste. So, like, that's not necessarily true. I mean, you can trade the pick.
Overall pick.
Yeah, you can trade the pick. You can trade the other player to make room for him. Like, we've seen lots of NFL teams have. I mean, look what the Browns are doing. Look what the 49ers are doing. Lots of teams have gotten to like mediocrity and been like, okay, we can do better. Look what the Rams did, right? I mean, like that's an okay place to be if you can trade your average starting quarterback to somebody for something and then move on to somebody who you think better. That's not a problem. It's only a problem if it turns out to be a bad draft pick. If the guy you drafted at 20 turns out to be a waste of a player, that's the only reason it would be a negative. And I just don't see that from Kenny Pickett. I feel like regardless of the board, regardless of whether you like Willis over Pickett, he is perfect value for a late first round pick at the quarterback position.
Also, you're taking the quarterback at the 20th overall pick. If you get your franchise guy, great. You just had great value and you just got him. If you didn't, okay, build the team around him. And then eventually, once you're ready to go, Kenny's a guy. You can make playoffs with Kenny. You can make the playoffs with Kenny.
I don't know if you're going to. Super Bowl with Kenny.
Yeah, I mean,
No problem.
you're gonna have to build a really good team to win the Super Bowl with Kenny.
Sure.
But you could. I mean, Jared Goff made it to the Super Bowl. I think Kenny's going to be a better player than
Jimmy
Jared Goff.
Garoppolo made it to the Super Bowl. Matt
I,
Ryan made it to the
I,
Super
and
Bowl.
I think Kenny's the better player than I think Kenny will be a better player than Jimmy Garoppolo. That's
Yeah.
my take as well. I mean, we talked about him in that Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr tier. Let's be real here. If he ends up being Derek Carr, this is a good pick.
Derek Carr was higher picked than 20th.
I would take Derek Carr with the 20th overall pick. The question is just, is he going to reach that?
Yeah.
Like Kenny has to. The biggest thing Kenny has to do is get comfortable working in the pocket again, because I think Pitt's O lines have scarred him a little bit, where he will not stay in the pocket long enough. Just take that extra second to kind of whip it out and go. I think that's the biggest thing. He has to learn how to manage pockets effectively, because at the next level, he's going to get burned by some of his tendencies, going at the back door too early, kind of hesitating and not standing in there. If he can really kind of work on that, that's where Kenny's going to really become a really good player, because he's kind of rare in the way that he's got this creation ability that you just don't expect. Like, I expect it because I've seen him, but I feel like if you're an outsider that hasn't watched Kenny Pickett and you were like, okay, I'm going to turn on this guy's fifth year senior tape, you're going to expect the guy sit there in the pocket, surgically, step up in the pocket, be accurate and everything. And he's a lot of those things, but no, this guy's a creator. Like, that's Kenny's MO. That's Kenny. That's what Kenny does. That's what makes Kenny Kenny. He's a creator. And so I think that's something that's really going to help him here too. But again, if he can get that pocket presence just down a little bit, he just got to tone it down a little bit.
And and it's very important distinction too, is that it is pocket presence in one way and not the other, right? Like, he feels the rush when it's coming. Like, he's not the kind of player like we've seen with Mason Rudolph and some other guys, Sam Howell, where he struggles to feel the rush or panics when the rush is coming. I think the problem with Pickett is sometimes he gets antsy when the rush isn't there. He needs to be a little bit more patient when he has a clean pocket. And let's be honest, in his time at Pitt, he did not have clean pockets for for a length of time very often. So that wasn't something that he was used to doing. I think in 2021, he kind of showed that, I call it like antsiness a little bit, where he just needs some patience. But it's not an issue of not being able to feel a rush or read a defense or go through his progression where he's like, oh, the first guy's covered and gone. He just needs to adjust that sort of internal pocket clock a little bit when he does have time in the pocket to stay there and wait for a receiver to get open.
Yeah, and that's going to be the thing, is that he has to work on that. And again, I think the pick for me, I would have taken Malik. That's just me.
Yeah, I agree. I would have too. Yeah.
So the pick, I mean, it's not a terrible pick. I don't think it's a great pick. I think it's like an okay pick. That's kind of my feeling.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I could see the Steelers looking for a quarterback in 4 to 5 years. If he doesn't do what they need him to do, I could see him getting a second contract. But they're going to have that kind of conundrum if, he does become what I think he's going to become, which is like that Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr tier. They're going to have a conundrum in 5 years. It's like, do we pay this dude like however many million that is at that point? Like, that's going to be the thing. I don't know if Kenny's ever going to be the guy you want to pay that much money for. But while he's on a rookie deal, I think I think they have at least a window here, where they're going to have Cam, TJ, all these, Minka, all these stars that they're going to have kind of around him. And I think they have the chance to do some winning here, because he's going to be on his rookie deal. But again, it's just, the question is going to be, how long-term is this? I don't know if he reaches that Derek Carr tier. This could be 10 plus years. But if he stays, say, that Jimmy G tier, which is also very realistic, we could be talking about them moving on from him. And that's the thing.
The other thing about this pick, that's obviously going to be the thing that makes it good or bad in the long term. But I think just evaluating it right now, I didn't feel like there was some kind of elite talent that fell to 20 that should not have, that was just screaming for the Steelers to take instead at a position of need for them. That it was like offensive line was well picked over, wide receiver was well picked over, cornerback had been, I mean, there's corners there, there's safeties there, but those are guys that we expected to be there at 20. I guess maybe McDuffie would have been the only guy that we really didn't think was going to be there at a position of need, but it was not like there was some glaringly better option staring them in the face if they to go other way than quarterback.
Yeah, no. I don't think I mean, the only guy I could see you arguing for in that regard was Booth. I think that's the one guy I can argue to say, okay, they could have gotten on quarterback. That's not really my gripe here. I don't think the position they picked is the gripe. I think I think my gripe with it is I just don't know if Kenny becomes, the franchise quarterback. But again, it's at the 20th overall pick. So it's not like you traded up anything. You didn't
You
give up
shouldn't have
anything.
that expectation with the 20th overall pick.
Yeah. I mean, but it'd be great if he ended up being a franchise guy. I just don't know.
He's also
if he
the
does.
kind of guy you can kind of bet on. I just feel like from a person standpoint, I'm not counting this guy out. I've known him for a long time.
No.
He's extremely competitive. He's extremely driven, dedicated, motivated. He does not have all the same physical tools as a lot of other quarterbacks, even other quarterbacks in this draft class, but like neither did Tom Brady, like neither did Drew Brees. Like neither did Joe Burrow. There is an extra thing with that quarterback position, and Pickett has it. And I think that goes a long way toward making me feel like he does not have the world's highest ceiling, but he seems like a guy that is very likely to reach it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to put in the work to do it. I also think this is a good environment for him. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the fit. I really do. Matt Canada's offense is like perfect for Kenny. They're gonna really
perfectly recruited him.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you what, I'm very excited to see what he does with Deontay, because I think Deontay Johnson and Kenny are like a match made in heaven.
Well, it's like Jordan Addison plus, which is kind of scary when you look at what Pickett did with Jordan Addison, right?
Hey, listen, next year, who knows? We could be seeing Jordan Addison and Deontay Johnson. I mean, that would be something. But like Kenny's a good fit with him. I think Muth is going to get some nice targets here over the middle of the field.
Yeah, you saw how much Lucas Kroll meant to Kenny Pickett having a real tight end target this year. I feel like that was a big difference maker, especially Pickett's really good in the middle of the field. And I feel like if you look at the Steelers' options right now, Freiermuth is that guy. Like, no, there's nobody else that they're really going to send in the middle of the field a lot. That's one of Pickett's biggest strengths and has been one of the Steelers' biggest weaknesses the last couple of years. And so I definitely feel like Freiermuth is going to be a big recipient of that.
It's kind of funny because I can take all the Pitt offensive weapons and pretty much give you a Steelers representation of them. So all the three running backs is just not. It's just Najee.
Then you have like all of their best traits combined.
It's Najee. And then you have Addison, that is Deontay. You have Jared Wayne, that's Claypool. And then you have Muth as Kroll. Now you just need the tastier Mac. That's really what's going to happen. And they're going to draft that guy probably today, I would assume. And that's what's going to happen, right? And so this is a very good fit for Kenny. This is going to be a nice fit for him. It's actually less of a pro style offense than he ran in college, which is kind of going to be interesting.
Yeah, it really is. It really is less of a pro style offense than what Mark Whipple ran. Absolutely.
And so Kenny's going to actually not have to run as, quite honestly, complicated things that he ran in college. So he's actually taking it back a step. But I think he'll be really good in this kind of fit. So yeah, it's a good fit for him to make that ceiling. The big reason why everyone's going to be mad at it and why I'm not super crazy about it is always going to be because you look around the AFC, specifically your division, you look at Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Herbert, Mahomes, Allen, all these great players. It's like, does Kenny actually raise the roof like that? And I'm just not sure he does. And that's, I think, the big kind of concern here. It's not that I think Kenny Pickett's going to be a complete bust and he's going to be Blaine Gabbert. I don't think that's going to happen. I just think we're in a unique situation where, say this is the NFC, I think this pick looks like better. I don't, if the Steelers were in the NFC, I think this pick is a lot better, but they're in a loaded AFC, and I'm just not sure if Kenny's going to be that guy. Now they'll need to build teams around him. They certainly can. The defense is looking really good, of course, right now, but I mean, this is just going to be that question mark of, okay, Kenny, are you going to be able to help me win the games I need to? I'm not sure he's going to be that guy. And that's the only reason why this pick's a little bit kind of to me.
Well, you talked about needing to build a team around him. That process starts tonight with the second and third round of the 2022 NFL draft. You also talked about the Steelers needing a wide receiver. It seems almost set in stone, just as set in stone as it was that they were going to take a quarterback yesterday. They will take a wide receiver today. Let's talk a little bit about the players. First of all, that position, since I think it is so likely they are remaining on the board after the first round that we like, and then maybe we can touch on some other spots as well. For me at wide receiver, to me, there's a big three, and then there's some other options that could sneak in later in this process. But for me, it's George Pickens from Georgia, Sky Moore from Western Michigan, and from Shady Side Academy here in Pittsburgh, and Christian Watson from North Dakota State. I think all three of those players could be really, really good fits for the Steelers, really productive wide receivers. They all do have like at least one question mark, one thing that is the reason that they didn't go in the first round, but I think they're great fits for the Steelers and great second round picks.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent on the board, as there usually is at the top of day two. But George Pickens, Sky Moore, both still there. That run on receivers we saw was incredible. On the 6 receivers, Jahan Dotson going that early. You expect that? I did not.
No, I did not.
Like Jahan Dotson before Traylon Burks was incredible. Olave going 11th. I mean, we saw once the Falcons took Drake London, it just went crazy. Christian Kirk has single-handedly crashed the wide receiver market with an $18 million deal. Good job. But I think there are a lot of good players here. Sky Moore, John Mechie, Christian Watson, George Pickens. I think there are a lot of players there that you look at that you're comfortable with. Andrew Booth somehow fell to day 2. So that's another one. I see that's a dude I would consider trading up for. I would consider calling about, moving up a few spots if Booth falls far enough. That's the type of guy I would go up for. I don't think he's going to last very long, but I think he's that type of talent.
I think Pickens is worth trading up for too.
Yeah.
If he gets probably not like all the way, but if he gets to like 40, 42 in that range, I can see them moving up like 10 spots to go get themselves Pickens, especially, like right now, I do feel like that kind of big three of like Pickens, Moore, Watson are separate from the rest of these guys a little bit. And then there's like Mechie, Jalen Tolbert, Calvin Austin, Danny Gray, who I think are probably like more 84 options for the Steelers than they are 52 options. But yeah, I can see them moving up here. They were talking about trading up in the first round and they didn't. They absolutely could make a trade up today.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that could be something that they manufacture. I also think there's other guys here that will be interesting. Nakobe Dean is still on the board, which the Steelers, I think, would jump on him in a second if he's there. This is going to be an interesting one. I know he had a torn Achilles this year, but David Ojabo, I think, would have to be a consideration at the edge.
We talked about how they just be like edge rusher, put it in the cart like that. They'll do that out of nowhere. Absolutely. I do think it's a very deep linebacker group here with a lot of really talented players still on the board.
Yeah. And how about
Leo Chenal, Brian Asamoah, Muma, like all those guys are options, I think, at 52.
You have Harris on the board, Brandon Smith, Chenal,
Channing Tindall, like Darian Beavers now getting into like more of the 84 guys, but still absolutely a lot of options there at linebacker. Still, that was a position that went relatively untouched. I thought we could see 3, maybe even an outside chance of 4 guys go in the first round, and instead it's just 2.
Yeah, it's just Quay and Devin Lloyd. I kind of look at the interior D line too as a nice place here that Steelers could look. Perion Winfrey, Travis Jones, Leal, all still on that board. So if one of them decides to fall far enough, I think they could potentially pick them. Corners aren't crazy. 5 corners went in the first round, kind of expected. Maybe Kaiir Elam was the surprise, but you expected someone to kind of back into the first round, whether that was Elam, Gordon, or whoever it was. But I think you kind of look at that board and it's Roger McCreary. You still have Kyler Gordon, Tariq Woolen. If you're looking a little later, you got guys like Alontae Taylor, Kobe Bryant, Marcus Jones, Josh Williams. I think there's a lot of.
Yeah. So I think to me, corner looks, unless one of these guys that looks like that kind of fell out of the first round, like Elam's not, Booth is not going to be there at 52. Like, just get out. Like, but I feel like corner feels more like the 3rd round pick than the 2nd round pick. I don't really see like an obvious fit at 52 for them right now. Maybe somebody falls that I'm not expecting, but I'd be very surprised if it's not wide receiver and then corner, IDL, linebacker, one of those.
Yeah, I could see that. Also, safety here, one big name that's still out there, Jaquan Brisker, obviously. Yeah. Also, Jalen Peter is still here. So
yeah, Jalen Peter and Nick Cross. Talking about that 3rd round pick, Nick Cross and Brian Cook, probably both options there as well.
Yep. And so this is a good board for the Steelers. Tackle is kind of not crazy ridden either. I mean,
Bernard Raymond.
Like, what was the only surprise? Tyler Smith went over Bernard Raymond. It's pretty much the only thing that changes. Yeah. But other than that, really,
I was not really enthused by Raymond's pre-draft process. I thought he was a little bit overrated. And then, I don't think 52 is a great spot to be taking a tackle, but 84 seems like a lot more realistic for guys like Salyer, Kennard, Mitchell, maybe. Yeah, Falele, right? Like maybe Braxton Jones, Petit Friere. There are Rasheed Walker. There are a lot more options to me at 84 than there are at 52 there. I really am locked into wide receiver on this next pick. I'd be very surprised if they go a different direction.
I'd be shocked. And only last position I wanted to highlight was the interior O-line. Really, this one got kind of rated. You saw Kenyon Green go early. You saw Linderbaum go. Then you saw Zion go. I mean, all of them in the top 20.
And then Cole Strange.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. Cole Strange, one of my favorite interviews of the entire pre-draft process. Crazy dude. Fun. Did not see that coming.
No, did not. I did not see that coming. I don't know if you saw the Rams press conference, but Sean McVay said, we wasted our time watching this dude. We thought he'd be there at 104. Which is incredible, by the way. But yeah, I don't know if there's anyone at 52 other than Sean Ryan that I would take. But I think, you have other guys that are going to be there, like Salyer, Kennard, Ingram, late on day 2, Parham, that you're going to look at. So that's kind of my take. But I agree with you. The wide receiver has to be the next pick. And again, with kind of the run on receivers we saw on day 1, there's a lot less wide receiver needy teams now, though. So How far are these guys going to fall? That's going to be the question, because most of these teams already filled their wide receiver needs. So it's not going to be, I think, that hard to envision one of Watson, Moore, Pickens, Mechie being there at 52. That's kind of my take on that. I think one of the 4 will be there. I think the Steelers, if they want to and feel comfortable enough, will move up to get one of those guys. I don't think they have any reason not to. They tried to move up 5 spots to get Kenny Pickett. We just kind of learned that this morning, where Nick Caserio said that they were going to trade up for him. I think that the Steelers are going to look at some of these guys and think, okay, if they're going to go that early, then we're going to move up for them. And I think receivers who they're going to be locked into. I will say it would be fun to get the all Pittsburgh first 2 rounds, wouldn't it? So we root for Sky Moore or Jaquan Brisker.
Sky Moore or Jaquan Brisker in the 2nd, and then Damari Mathis or Rasheed Walker in the 3rd, and we'll just keep it going.
Yeah, the Steelers never had to leave their backyard.
Just say, our Rooney's gonna be looking at some expense reports and say, like, what are we doing here? We picked 2 Pitt guys and a Penn State guy, and we spent $500,000 doing it.
Yeah, right. We sent you all the way to freaking Oxford, Mississippi, and you come away with guys that are literally in our backyard.
And a week in Mobile and a week in Indianapolis, and you went to 20 pro days and had 30 pre-draft visits, and this is who you come up with. Hey, you know what? I like it. I think it's a fun part of the sport, and that you see these guys. And you have this fan bases able to kind of latch on to guys at the next level. We actually saw a lot of it yesterday, where there was a lot of teams taking players. Aiden Hutchinson goes to the Lions. Trayvon Walker to the Jags. Obviously, a lot of overlap there. Stingley to Houston. There were a lot of guys like that where there was some familiarity with the fan base, and I think it's a good thing. I think it excites everyone, and it makes this process a lot more fun and rewarding.
Yeah, and Ekwonu went to Carolina.
Yeah, that's all right. Icky from NC State to Carolina.
Like it feels good when you have that hometown coming. I do say that. And obviously the Steelers and Kenny Pickett are probably one of the best examples of that. I mean, guy played 5 years, literally right across the hall on the same practice fields, and then goes to Heinz Field every week. Oh yeah, casually you just get to stay in Pittsburgh. Probably won't be staying on Bates Street anymore, but you know, I don't know. You might have to move out
Oh
to
yeah, Kenyon Green, also
yeah.
Houston from A&M as well. There was another one.
Feel it's I love the homecoming aspect of everything. When need and the player match up and you get that kind of homecoming, it does, I think it's really one of those heartwarming things. And I don't know how you couldn't watch the Kenny Pickett videos yesterday and at least feel it's great. It's great. It was all
Storybook
very
stuff.
wholesome.
Absolutely storybook stuff. We will see if we get more of that in the second round tonight. We'll have reaction here on the YouTube channel. We'll also have videos from the South Side as whoever the Steelers bring out as far as assistant coaches or whatever will be speaking, as well as we're going to talk to Kenny Pickett this afternoon at 3:30. So I will be there for that as well. Nick, anything else before we wrap it up here at the start of day 2?
No, I think that's all. So I think we're going to be ready for day 2 of the NFL draft.
Sounds good. That's Nick. I'm Alan. Thanks for watching Draft Talk on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Make sure you like and subscribe to notifications here on the YouTube channel. You get the first to know every time we drop a new video about the Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, Riverhounds, Pitt, West Virginia, Penn State, everything going on here at Pittsburgh Sports Live. You can also find us anywhere you find podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Transistor, all the favorites. Find us wherever you listen to those. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more later tonight and throughout the 2022 NFL Draft. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.